Well, thanks a lot for staying with us here on Sunrise Live on Eon this Monday morning. Now, in current affairs news making headlines this past weekend, in the City Press, it read that the SACP is planning to join the chorus calling for the Social Development Minister, Bathabile Dlamini, to step down. And this is the wake of the social grants crisis. And the Sunday Times is also running with the headline, Cloudy as an MP is just the beginning. So joining us in studio this morning to elaborate more about these stories and more is a political reporter, Carien Plessis, and we invite you as always to be part of our conversation. Remember by leaving your comments on our Facebook as well as on our Twitter pages. Carien, always a pleasure having you join us. Welcome.
Always nice to be here, Faye. Thank you.
We're talking about the City Press and what's been going on now. Now, the SASSA debacle obviously continues. Since then, we've had the SASSA CEO, Thokozani Makwaza, who's come out from sick leave. And he was allegedly hospitalized because he was suffering from stress as well as high blood pressure as a result of this crisis at SASSA currently. He has subsequently spoken out saying that the minister actually blocked him, allegedly and intentionally blocked him from actually presenting his case at the Constitutional Court. What is that story there?
Yeah, this case is getting very serious, and it's actually quite hard to keep track of all the CEOs who are booked off on sick leave because the minister seems to cause them a lot of stress. But the case is going to be very interesting. I think the department has until 4 p.m. today to give answers to the court about, did the minister know about this? Who made the decisions on CPS? So it's going to be very interesting. The minister could actually, the interesting thing about this is that the minister and officials can actually be held in contempt of court, and
really?
That's an offence that you can go to jail for. I asked the retired Justice Zak Yaqub last week when we saw him about the ICC. I said to him, what's the worst that can happen? How do you hold people accountable? And he said under extreme circumstances, somebody can go to jail for contempt.
Okay, I'm going to read out, because in the City Press, sorry there, Carien, it read some of the allegations that the SASSA CEO actually put forward regarding the Minister Bathabile. And I mean, if you didn't read the City Press this weekend, just these are just some of the allegations came out, that she got in the way of papers being filed in the Constitutional Court 3 times, right? That the research reports, which was submitted in October, detailing SASSA's inability to take over the grant payments from CPS in April, were initially withheld from him when he took over office in November. So he actually was not privy to certain information, which was critical to him being able to perform and even account for CPS. That the minister aides told SASSA staff to take instructions from her attorney, that she also torpedoed plans to involve the South African Post Services in the distribution of grants. So all of these allegations that are coming out in the City Press regarding, and also from the SASSA CEO, could she actually be arrested for this?
Well, I'm not a legal expert, but I believe that if she is found to have obstructed their work, she could, because there was a court order that said the court must oversee this whole process of, the whole tender process, the whole process of getting a new service provider from the 1st of April. She was supposed to have reported back to the court, and if she obstructed officials to report back to court, that's a very serious, the court will not be very kind to her. And she kept on blaming it on officials. Remember in Parliament, she kept on saying, oh, I don't really know much.
With the Public Accounts Committee.
Yes, with the scope, was it last week?
Where she appeared along with SASSA.
Yes, and she basically pretended not to know a lot. She basically pretended that, the officials should have done this. And now if it comes out that she was blocking these officials. And Sunday Times also had an interesting report, which the presidency denies any knowledge of this, but the president's legal advisor, Michael Hulley, apparently also got involved in the whole affair. And the allegation was that he seemed to have favored CPS. So that adds another dimension to the story.
Let's speak about
the minister is ultimately accountable, so it will come down on her.
Well, the president has also been making headlines. This is also another story in the Sunday Times, and you speak about the presidency, so it's almost seeing fit to go into that story regarding the state plane of the president. We've seen him get into various private jets, and South Africans have made a hoo-ha about it. It's supposed to cost about 1.3 billion rand regarding just the actual infrastructure aspect of it, and being able to put arms and being able to actually have it so that it's also safe for a head of state to fly in. It's making headlines once again. Why this time?
Well, he seems to want this for shorter trips, and it's a lot of money to spend. Last year there was a similar story where he wanted a plane to, I think it was for longer international trips, And Treasury basically said there's no money. And yeah, this time again, you know, there's questions about why does he want the plane. He's already got a plane that's working very well. Well,
it got stuck.
He claims it's not working so well.
In all fairness, it got stuck.
So, yeah, so some conspiracy theories are that that people are sabotaging the plane to make the case for a new plane. But yeah, the question is, can we afford that? You know, is there not another way for the president to fly? There's been some PR. Interesting PR, I don't want to call it stunts, opportunities that the president have taken by travelling with a normal plane, you know, normal passenger planes. I can't remember when the last time, I think it was it to the US, to attend the United Nations General Assembly last year, and there was a recent occasion as well, and you know, his staff put the pictures on Facebook and showed the president jolly in, you know, slumming it in business class. So yeah, so it's a big issue, and people are asking, are there not alternatives? Can we afford to spend money on a plane for the president when there are alternatives, and when we don't have money to spend?
Well, we took this conversation as well to social media and asked our viewers at home exactly what they thought about the matter. I'm going to bring in Mark Haskins now, just to tell us about what people are saying at home about this issue of the plane of the president.
Carien, I love the way you say slumming it in business class. Eh?
I'm so envious every time.
Well, we did ask our viewers. They said the bid to buy President Jacob Zuma a new plane is back on, with discussions underway to purchase a R1 billion 18-seater private jet for regional flights. Now, we asked our viewers, obviously, what are your views on this? And Sihle saying, this government, though, despite numerous input and advice from aviation experts, TGAG in Kwazi is relatively still a new plane, just in need of better maintenance. The government is hell-bent on spending billions, which they don't have. And then Romeo saying, my question is, does the president really need it? Does it make financial sense in these hard economic times? If he genuinely needs it, and it makes perfect financial sense, then there's no problem. So Romeo saying, if there's a real genuine need, then there's no problem. But those are just some of your views that came through on Facebook.
Thank you very much for that, Mark. Obviously, then people having differing views regarding the plane, and obviously looking at government again. Speaking about government accountability, it's another story. This time we have got the Justice Minister, Michael Masuta, on the front line of this. Obviously, he spoke out about the withdrawal, the issue around the ICC, whether or not South Africa withdraws from the ICC. It was to return back from a court, saying that the way in which it was gone about to actually withdraw from the ICC was actually not necessarily legal. So due diligence was not done there. He's now been summoned to the ICC to appear before it, so that he could actually account for why is it that President Omar al-Bashir actually made it into the country and was subsequently left without anything happening.
Yeah, the story seems to be growing legs every time the ANC wants to kill, the government wants to kill one leg, and then another leg grows out. Yeah, so, but this is part of the process that started way back when the government did not arrest Omar al-Bashir. The ICC wants to know, the ICC wants to know why we did not, and the minister will have to go and explain. The minister is very much at pains to say this is not a trial, this is just, we're just going there for information, to give information. But everybody's quite, you know, looking quite forward to seeing what the government will come up with. They basically said at the time that, you know, because Omar al-Bashir was attending the African Union, he was kind of diplomatically exempt from being arrested. But, you know, subsequently we saw the ANC take a very harsh position on the ICC, you know, this quick withdrawal that they did, and then that was subsequently not procedurally right. And then last week in Parliament, the process started for the illegal withdrawal, doing it the right way. But the interesting thing I noted yesterday in the policy documents, I went to a press conference where the ANC released policy discussion documents.
And they actually had that press conference and they were speaking about the discipline of the ANC. We've been seeing it in our news bulletins this morning. Yes,
yeah, but I just want to go on about the ICC. And it seems to me, I read the bit about the ICC, and their stance is very less harsh than the one in 2015 in their National General Council discussion documents, when they were saying the ICC was arrogant, and they were really harsh on the ICC. This time they're much less harsh, and there's no mention of withdrawal. So I'm actually wondering, maybe it's somebody else who wrote the document this time, or maybe the ANC, maybe they've calmed down a little bit.
I want us to go into issues around the African National Conference, because you spoke about African National Congress, because we spoke about the policy press conference that was held for the policy conference in June, and obviously with the other side of things, it's the issue around Andile Lungisa, the regional chairperson of the African National Congress, where it was actually saying that he actually openly defied a directive from national leadership hours before the election of a regional leadership there. So what is that story?
Yeah, Ndile Lungisa, if you remember way back, he was, if I remember correctly now, he was close to Julius Malema, I think, or he was in the ANC Youth League. So he comes
He
from
was also arrested.
And and then in Latvia, more recently he was arrested. I think first it was for fraud, for apparently defrauding the Department of Culture, organising a show that didn't happen and that nobody knew about, but taking the money anyway. But those charges were dropped subsequently. And then last year he was arrested for, there was some brawl I think it was in the council, and he was arrested for assault. And that case is still ongoing if the newspaper reports are correct.
Because there was a weapon involved that was actually brought into the council chambers.
Yes. So he very correctly resigned from, or was stepped aside from the Provincial Executive Council when that fraud case was being heard, like the ANC's rules require. But so this time I'm not sure why he's being elected if he still has a charge against him. And then I think a day before the conference he told journalists, no, he's withdrawing. You know, Gwede Mantashe said, I can't stand because I'm already on the Provincial Executive Council, and you're not allowed to stand for a lower position, which the Regional Executive Council is a lower position. And then he said he withdrew from the race, and next thing we heard he's elected. So, and then next thing I heard, Gwede Mantashe yesterday, he was reported to say the ANC will look into this. Jackson Tembu also at this press conference said, you know, afterwards we look at the processes. If it's incorrect, you know, we deal with it.
Sure.
And then President Zuma went and he spoke at the closing of the conference yesterday, and he was so happy with the way it was conducted, and he seems to give Andile Lungisa his blessing. So I think the drama never stops.
And the drama never stops. So all regarding the African National Congress, it's so good that we mentioned the policy conference is actually one that we need to see in June to see how things actually turn out. But we have to leave our conversation there this morning. Thanks a lot, Carien, for joining us.